This is Kelly from Kelly's Amigurumi. In this video, I will demonstrate how to crochet mittens. If you want to follow along, you can use the timestamps in the pattern below and gather the following materials. You'll want yarn and a crochet hook. You can use any size yarn that you would like for your mittens, and you want to find a crochet hook that matches your weight of yarn. You'll want a pair of scissors, and optionally you'll need to gather a yarn needle and a stitch marker. The mitten pattern will work through the following steps of the mitten, starting with the edging of the mitten, then the cuff, which will be on the wrist, followed by the gusset, which will bring the work from the wrist to just below the thumb. We'll then create a thumb hole and work the hand of the pattern, which will be the same number of stitches, until the decrease pattern, which will be the fingers of the mitten. We'll finish the pattern by joining the yarn to the thumb hole and creating an even number of stitches for the thumb until we decrease to finish the thumb hole. We'll use a foundation double crochet to create the edging of our mitten. The foundation double crochet combines a chain and a double crochet. Once we have a slip knot, let's chain 4. And create a foundation double crochet by yarning over, inserting our hook into the first chain. Yarning over, pulling up a loop. Chaining 1, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops. Again, the steps for a foundation double crochet. Yarning over, inserting our hook into the chain stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, chaining 1. Then yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Again, foundation double crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook into the chain stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Chain 1. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Once more, yarn over, insert your hook into the chain stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Chain 1. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now I have my starting chain and 4 foundation double crochets. We're going to repeat the foundation double crochet for a multiple of 4. We'll close our work on the last stitch of the row so we can start working in the round. Right now I have 15 foundation double crochets, and I'm going to join my work on my 16th stitch by doing the following. I'll start my stitch. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, chain 1. At this point, I am going to find my original chain 4. I'm going to carefully take my chain off of my hook and insert my hook into that first chain of the chain 4 and put the chain back on my hook and pull it through the first chain. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. When I have just one loop on my hook, I'm going to do the same as before. I'm going to carefully take the working chain off my hook, insert my hook into the 4th chain of the original chain 4. I'll put that working chain back on my hook and pull it through the top 4th chain of the chain 4. And that'll finish the edging of the work. The cuff of the mitten will consist of alternating between 2 front post double crochets and 2 back post double crochets. The post is the vertical part of our stitches. We'll work each round of the cuff pattern by chaining 2, working a front post double crochet. Once we yarn over, we want our hook to be behind our post, so we'll insert it into the front, behind the post, and back in front, yarning over, pulling up a loop around the post. Then yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops. Another front post double crochet, yarning over, inserting our hook from front to back, then back to front, yarning over, pulling up a loop around the post of the stitch, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops. And these stitches will be in front of the post from the previous round. Then we'll work a back post double crochet, so we want our hooks to be in front of the post. Once we yarn over, we'll bring our hook behind our work and go to the front and then to the back of the next post. Yarning over, pulling up a loop around the next post. Then yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops. Again, a back post double crochet, yarning over, inserting our hook in back of our work, in front of the next post, and then in back, yarning over, pulling up a loop around the post of the stitch, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Continuing that pattern, noticing that the front posts are in front of the post, the back post should be in back of the post. Finishing each round by slip stitching into the top of our original chain 2, first inserting our hooks into the top of the chain 2, then yarning over and pulling through all loops. Your front post double crochets should stack on top of your front post double crochets, and your back post double crochets should stack on top of your back post double crochets to create a ribbing effect for the cuff. We'll work half double crochets for the rest of the mitten pattern. To create the gusset, we will increase the number of stitches we have in each row over towards the thumb side of our patterns. And we'll increase for the gusset from the cuff to just below the thumb hole. The pattern for the gusset pattern will begin again with a chain 2. We'll work 1 half double crochet by yarning over, inserting our hook into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, then yarning over and pulling through all loops. Then we'll work 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, yarning over, inserting the hook into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, then yarning over, pulling through all loops, and working another half double crochet into the same stitch. Then we'll work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch around until 2 stitches remain in the round. We'll work 2 half double crochets into the second to last stitch, one half double crochet into the final stitch, then slip stitching into the second chain of the chain 2, and repeating that increase pattern for the gusset of the mitten. The gusset should finish just below the thumb, and then we're ready to create the thumb hole. When I fold my work in half, I will create the thumb hole on the side of the gusset by starting the round with a slip stitch. I insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through everything to create a slip stitch, and I will slip stitch in the next 4 stitches. I'll then chain 2, and half double crochet around my work until 4 stitches remain in the round. I'll finish the round by chaining 2, slip stitching in the next stitch, and slip stitching in each of the next 3 stitches. We'll work one more round for the thumb hole. We'll start by slip stitching into the top of the chain 3, and then slip stitching in each of the next 4 slip stitches. And slip stitching into both chains of the chain 2. Those last 2 slip stitches will bring us to the height of our previous round. We'll then chain 2 and half double crochets in each half double crochet from the previous round. and we'll half double crochet into the top of the chain 2. We'll finish the thumb hole by chaining to get to the first chain 2. I'm going to chain 4. Because that was a good measurement for my thumb hole. I will finish the thumb hole by slip stitching into the second chain of the chain 2. Once we finish our thumb hole, we want to crochet an even number of stitches in each round to bring us to the height of our little finger. We'll work the next round by chaining 2, half double crocheting in each half double crochet in the previous round, and you'll half double crochet in each chain at the top of the thumb hole, and finish with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. The next rounds, you'll chain 2, half double crochet in each stitch around, and slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 until your work measures the height of your pinky. Once you've worked to about the height of the pinky, we're going to work a decrease pattern until the mitten reaches the height of your tallest finger. We'll start the decrease pattern by finding the midpoint in our round. We'll fold the mitten in half so that the thumb holes are folded in half, and we'll take a stitch marker and mark where the fold is on the pinky side of the mitten. For each round of the decrease pattern, we'll begin by chaining 2. Half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Half double crochet 2 together. So yarning over, inserting our hook into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Again, yarning over, inputting our hook into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling through, then yarning over, pulling through all 5 loops. 1 half double crochet, leaving 2 stitches unworked in, in front of the stitch marker. half double crochet 2 together in those 2 stitches. Again, yarning over, inserting your hook into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops. 1 half double crochet in the stitch with the marker. At that point, the stitch marker can go into the top of the stitch you just worked. Half double crochet 2 together. One half double crochet in each of the next half double crochets, leaving the last 2 stitches before the chain 2 unworked. Half double crochet 2 together in those 2 remaining stitches of the round. Finishing with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. We'll continue the decrease pattern until the mitten measures just to the height of the tallest finger, and then we can fasten off our work. By inserting our hook into the top of the first half double crochet in the last round, yarning over and pulling through all loops, cutting the yarn and pulling the cut tail through. I need to close the hole in the top of the mitten, so I've turned my work inside out, the mitten in half so the thumb holes stack on top of each other, making the seam end up on the inside of the mitten, and we'll close the work with a ladder stitch. So I've threaded a yarn needle and I'm going to create a ladder stitch first on the inside seams. So I've lined up the top of my stitches and I am going to go through the inside seams, going from top to bottom, and then bottom to top. Continuing in that pattern, top to bottom, bottom to top. Again, first along the inside seams, and then along the outside seams. So for that last one in the row, we can go all the way to the outside of the seam, and then continuing with the next row, going from the top to the bottom, and the bottom to the top. Now capturing the outside of the stitches in the second pass of the ladder stitch. Once we've gotten back to where we started, you could decide to do a second pass to help keep the seam secure. And then we can hide the tail, just sewing the rest of the yarn along the side of the mitten. You can cut any remaining length of the tail. And we'll turn the work right side out to start the thumb hole. We'll finish the pattern with the thumb. Once we join the yarn to the thumb hole, we will work 1/2 double crochet in each stitch around until the decrease rounds, where we work a 1/2 double crochet 2 together around. We'll join the yarn for the thumb hole where the top of the thumb hole meets the bottom of the thumb hole. I've created a slip knot and I'll insert my hook into a stitch, yarn over, pull through all loops to join the work, then chain 2. We'll 1/2 double crochet around every other stitch. So we will chain 2, skip a stitch, and then 1/2 double crochet into the next stitch. When we crochet into the top of the thumb hole, we're going to crochet into the bottom of chain stitches. So you may only pick up 1 loop around the top part of your thumb hole. So you 1/2 double crochet in 1 stitch, skip a stitch, 1/2 double crochet into the next stitch. When we crochet into the bottom of the thumb hole, we'll be working into the tops of 1/2 double crochets. So we'll want to find the front loop as well as the back loop of each stitch. We'll finish each round of the thumb with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. And then we'll repeat each round by chaining 2, 1/2 double crochet in each 1/2 double crochet, and then a slip stitch again into the top of the chain 2 until the work measures just below the thumb. We'll then work on decreasing the thumb to the top. For the decrease pattern, we'll chain 2 and work 1/2 double crochets 2 together to the top of the thumb. Again, for 1/2 double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all loops. We'll finish each decrease round again with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. And we'll work decrease round until the work measures above the height of your thumb. At that point, we can fasten off the yarn. We'll cut the yarn, leaving about 6 inches of tail. Inserting our hook into the next stitch. Yarning over, pulling the tail through. We'll sew the thumb together with the thumb inside out again to create a seam on the inside of the thumb. Once the thumb is inside out, we can make sure that we have the top of the seams, And this time, to sew it together, we are going to sew around the thumb. So we'll go through one stitch from inside to outside, and then next stitch outside to inside. You can do every stitch or every other stitch, again going in to out, out to in. Along the top of the stitches, starting to pull taut as you go. Once the hole is closed, you could start to go across the thumb hole with the yarn. Once the thumb hole is secure, you can start to weave your yarn along the side of the thumb. Just hiding the end of the yarn. And then we'll cut any remaining tail. The mittens will be ready to wear once you've woven in all the loose ends. Thanks for watching the video on how to crochet mittens. Let me know how they turn out below.